Hey guys, this will be video 18 for the how to design and build a 59 Korina Les Paul replica using Stuart McDonald templates. And I got kind of a casual video here because I'm kind of burnt out from working. I've been working on this thing all day long and really didn't even want to do a video because I didn't think I'd be in good spirits to be a good presenter, but I'm going to give it a shot and see if it turns out okay, then I'll upload it. If I get cranky, then I'll just I'll cancel the video and we'll cross that bridge some other time. But the main thing I focused on today was verifying the scale and all the dimensions, as I had mentioned in one of the last, I think the last video, where okay, well now it's time to start, verifying your nut location, the 16th fret location, where to machine this neck pickup so that you've got a little bit of a shelf there, and where to machine this bridge pickup so that you've got a little bit of leadway to move it forward or back if you need to. But most importantly is to make certain that you truly found your bridge location studs, the bridge stud locations, as well as the tailpiece stud locations. And that might look a little bit chopped up, but it's just where I drove little temporary nails in the beginning when I was doing all the template work, because I knew that eventually I'm going to be coming in here and drilling out a 1/2 inch diameter hole and about 7/8 of an inch deep. So even though it looks kind of chopped up and beat up, every bit of that's going to get cut out. Okay. So in this location right here, I'm not exactly sure. Oh, I know what it was. Yeah, initially I had the bridge set a little bit further up, but I noticed out of all the guitars that I've been building, the once I intonated them, I still had plenty of room that bridge could have been moved down about another 1/16 of an inch to 1/8 of an inch even. So I elected to do that. I moved this bridge just a little bit farther down than even what the templates call for. Okay. And that way, that'll give me more room to intonate in the wound string location. And I'm just going to stop because I'll start talking about intonation. But it just, in other words, I feel better about that location, and also it makes certain that that the bridge visually does not get too cramped into the the uh, the bridge itself does not look visually cramped in relation to the bridge pickup surround. Okay, so and if also that will give me the leadway to move this either direction if I wanted to. So anyway, turned out really good. I'm really happy with it. So I used that little fretboard there, which is a CNC cut 24.75 inch scale. Didn't have to. I could have just gone to tundraman.com and pulled up his fret scale calculator, and any dimension that I wanted to know, whether it be what's the distance from the nut to the bridge or from the 5th fret to the 19th fret, I would be able to use his fret scale calculator and do every bit of that, and actually build my neck on paper first if I decided to, and then build the guitar itself. And what you're probably going to see, wow, the one that's paper is longer. Well, it's because it's a 25.5 inch scale. And this is a project I'm working on. I'm doing a 25.5 inch scale Explorer replica neck. So that's a little bit of an oddball. But nonetheless, I could have engineered all this stuff and then built the whole guitar just from having this paper template, as long as, you engineered it properly. But by having this actual fretboard, it sure is cool to be able to just lay this up here. And let's see, where is it? I'd be willing to bet you this guitar, that's the 16th fret location, just by looking up there and what I see up there. So by having this fretboard, it allowed me to do some verification about my engineering, and it was all true. So again, this fretboard is not going on this guitar. This fretboard will be going on one of the Explorer replicas, and I've got some Paul Ferro that that I'll be using to machine this fretboard. And I do have some ebony as well. There was a possibility I was going to do an ebony fretboard, but I decided to just do the Paul Ferro, which I believe a guy from Brazil chimed in once and said it's called Pafijo. I believe that's how you pronounce it. But anyway, in the States we call it Pau Ferro because we see the two R's. So turned out really good as far as the epoxy. And I covered this a little bit in the past video, but I've done an enormous amount of machine work since that last video where I actually came in and I took off about, what would it be? Yeah, about 3/64 of an inch. Not a 16th. It was under a 16th of an inch, but that heel was a little bit wider than it should have been, which is okay. It's better to have too much wood than not enough. But I had to do some really precision file work. And speaking of that, I'll just go ahead and talk about what I did. Let me grab it. This is probably one of the most important things I'll ever cover in a video. But if you're getting ready to come in, don't dare use a chisel. But if you were getting ready to come in and take off material right here, you could use an eraser shield, and then the file. Let's say this is a file. Then you can make certain that you keep that down, and you can file that off, and then come in here and verify. Because again, where I'm going with this, it wasn't quite a 16th, but I took an enormous amount of wood off of this heel. Probably more than I should have had to, but I had to make certain that I kept it real nice and square. So I was able to do that by using this eraser shield right here, protected my body as I was doing all of my file work, cleaning that off. And keep in mind, and I'm really going off the rails here, but this is what it takes to build a guitar, even though it's a brand new guitar. With this actual fretboard, I'm just going to put it roughly where it needs to be. I was able to take a pencil and draw a pencil line. It may still be up on the body. It is on the body. And then then I was able to monitor that pencil line all the way down the actual neck and see that verified. That's the actual 16th right there. And then I was able to correlate that to the trapezoidal path, making certain that everything was staying centered. Whether we had to move it to one side or whether we had to kick it to one side, the yaw, but which I didn't. It was perfect. But nonetheless, I was just a little bit too wide. Okay. So shaped up perfectly. And then once I did that, it prompted me to, because I wasn't even going to work on this guitar today. I just kind of saw it over in the corner and I thought I need to kind of look at it a little bit. And once I got it on the table, 12 hours later, I had done all this real nice shape work. Because I say that to say this: once you get the bug and you get a little bit of energy, seize the opportunity and stay on that project. Because these other guitars that I'm working on right now, they're all different scales, they're different designs, they're flat top guitars. But once I got excited about working on this one, I went ahead and just stayed with it and did as much work as I could. And that's when it prompted me to go ahead and use the template in order to machine out all of the pickup locations. Okay. So anyway, it turned out really good. Very happy with it. I'm going to do a little bit of a flyby and then I'm going to stop talking because this is about the fourth time I've done this video. I've gotten way too long-winded in every one of them. And it's not that it was irrelevant information, it was critically important information, but it was way too much information. So if I'm repeating something, I apologize, but I'll try to end the video as soon as I can here. Um, the once I had all that under control, I realized, okay, now it's time to make certain that I verify all these center lines, and I gotta get that. I gotta drill that location. That location had not been drilled yet, and once I had that, the 16th fret location, well, man, that determined everything. When I say everything, it determined that. It determined that, that location, that line right there, that line, that line, that line, et cetera, and on and on and on. And once you're doing machine work on that scale, you've got your template temporarily fixed atop the guitar. Well, go ahead and take advantage of the fact that you've got it in the correct location and do all the finish route work. And then once you start doing that finish route work, well, go ahead and fit the pickups, make certain that you've got them deep enough and things like that. So it was this continuing operation of where it's just like the day would not end, which is a good thing. I'm not complaining. Let me get behind the camera. But I just realized that, well, I need to finish the little guitar. So it turned out very good, and it's just what it is. That's where all the locations are. That's obviously your wiring channel, which is done initially before the top gets glued down. So there was one guy that had chimed in about 4 or 5 videos back where he was confused. How was I going to get the wires in there? Well, it's because none of that bottom had been machined out yet. But once that bottom gets machined out, now you see what begins to be revealed. Okay. And I cut this one a little bit deeper intentionally. I cut this one a little bit deeper intentionally because this guitar it's not heavy, but it is definitely not light. And I was trying to carve off a little bit of weight here and there. And also, when I built this guitar, it's almost 2 1/16 of an inch wide. I actually could come in and machine off a whole 16th of an inch off the back of this guitar, and it would still be an authentic, and I mean even the 50s, because I think they're right at 2 inches or slightly under 2 inches in some respects. So this is a big guitar, and you'd be surprised how much weight that makes up. The 16th of an inch of a dense blonde quarter sewn Korina, which is to me stunning, so beautiful. I'll move really slow, and obviously this is just rough primer work. But once this thing gets sanded, leveled, and buffed out, it's going to be really beautiful. Okay. All right, so I got to get emotional there, as I say, about the guitar, but I'm very happy with it. And as I had mentioned before, this is my personal guitar, and it's so cool. I've always wanted to build my own personal, replica Les Paul, and I never thought, I never even thought about building one out of Korina until I built that 58 Explorer and saw heard how good it sounded. And then the weight was just perfect. Everything about the wood and the fact that I had that wood left over to continue to work with it. It was exciting to see this thing come together, so much so that it prompted me to get this little guitar finished to this point so I can sell it. And I never thought I would sell this guitar, but I honestly, I'm ready to see it go to someone else. And this is a beautiful little guitar. I'll cover it in some of the future videos. But I built this one without the templates, the Stuart McDonald templates. So it's just ever so slightly smaller. But she's got a baseball bat neck. It's a fat little round neck. But I used all of the 58 appointments, like the tortoise binding, the faux tortoise, not binding, dot markers. And then that's authentic mother of pearl, the trapezoid inlays. Anyway, so beautiful little guitar, sounds great, and just is what it is. But I would have never considered selling this guitar until I saw this one materialize. So much so that what I didn't like about that one, or what I saw could have been improved on, well, I knocked it over the fence with this one, because this neck's going to end up being about 15/16 of an inch thick here, whereas that one I think is like an inch and a 32nd. It's pretty fat. And then up here it's going to be 7/8 of an inch thick. And this is a 1 inch radius. This is a 1 inch radius initial machine work, whereas that is a 7/8 inch radius, just the initial. And then once I started doing all the hand shaping, man, it really came together. So everything about this one feels really good. Okay. So let me check the time. I'll probably just end the video, because there's, wow, it's weird. It's only 16 minutes. To me, it feels like I've been talking for 2 hours, because I've erased so many of the videos. I don't really think there's a lot to talk about structurally, though, or as far as work goes, other than just by having the template, it made it really easy. Once I got motivated to, make some corrections, next thing I knew, as I said earlier, wow, 8, 9, 10 hours later, I've pretty much got the little guitar finished. And I'm serious. It's ready for the fretboard, and which I don't have machined yet, and I do not have the trapezoid. I do not have the mother of pearl. I probably already mentioned that earlier, but otherwise she's finished. I don't have the tuners. It's really funny. Well, I won't talk about it. I was thinking about doing Spurzel tuners on this guitar, because it is my personal guitar, but we'll see. I'll cross that bridge later on. I do like the idea of the fact that since I've got the vintage headstock, just keeping it vintage. And I apologize if I talked about this at the beginning of the video, but this is my own personal guitar, obviously, as I mentioned, but it was a bit of an experiment, because I didn't even realize I was going to have the wood to do this guitar. So I thought, well, what the heck? I'll just take advantage of all the scrap lumber that I've got left over, and I'll build up this neck where that heel is a glued on heel. It's a scarf joint. It's a scarf joint up here in the headstock. It's all concealed, obviously, concealed extremely well. And this might shock you, but yeah, basically along that line right there, and that line right there, those are ears glued on to a center piece. That's how well the Korina conceals. It's just stunning. It's a beautiful wood. So nice to work with. And I was very selective about the growth ring orientation and stuff like that, but it turned out really good. But I say that to say this: if you haven't seen any of the other videos related to this guitar, I do not build guitars this way, especially for clients. If I'm building a guitar for a client, that's going to be a one-piece neck. Now, it will have the ear work done, but that's per typical jazz guitar standards, where you're gluing on ears to increase the size of the headstock, or you're gluing on some sort of beautiful overlay. And with that overlay, you're able to conceal any glue up lines and things like that. Okay. But this was my personal guitar, an experiment guitar, and I'm extremely happy with it. It turned out well. And I wanted to do it in video series just to show you guys that, hey, if you got a box of scrap wood over in the corner, we'll build a 59 Les Paul replica, and you might be surprised how well it turns out. So let me turn it this way. Anyway, so I'm going to put that little guitar over there on the auction block eventually. I've got some pickups I just received, and they're 57 PAF replicas. I'm not going to start talking about that guitar, but the reason I do have it on the table is because this is going to be a paint grade top, but I know for the most part, most guys that are building this guitar, they're going to want to put a maple cap on it. And I say that to say this. I heard that exact guitar. It was a guy, he was on YouTube, and he's a really phenomenal player. He's a really good player. But to me, that guitar was too bright. It was way too bright. And it had a maple top, it had a maple cap atop the Korina body and the Korina neck. I do, and I'm not misspeaking here. It did have a Korina body and a Korina neck, but it had a maple cap, and it was beautiful. It was really attractive, but it did not sound like a Les Paul product at all. I don't really know what it sounded like. I couldn't identify the guitar, and it might have been that he was just playing through a real bright solid state amp. But again, but based on the fact of his ability as a player, that wasn't his first rodeo. So usually, someone that can play that well, they know which amp to select for a guitar like that. And that's why when I started building this project, I was so spooked by trying to use a maple that I wanted to use the Honduran mahogany in order to give it some warmth and clarity. And I really think it's going to be but also not at the expense of weight. And one guy chimed in a couple of videos back, and he was talking about, man, if you want to build a beautiful sounding guitar, build one out of a Honduran mahogany lower with a walnut cap. And I agree with that for the most part, but I don't like guitars that are over 8.5 pounds, and I'd be fearful of that guitar getting too hefty. But with this Korina, which was already extremely dense, and I'll probably just pause and do a weight analysis here. I knew that there was no way I was going to be able to put a maple cap on this thing and it be under 10.5 pounds. It would have been a monster. So that was my reasoning for going with the Honduran cap. For one of the reasons is to keep it really nice and lightweight, but also from a tonal standpoint. See, that even has some darkness to it right there. That's just off the charts. That sounds incredible. Now this guitar is chambered, and if you're curious about that, just go to some of the very first 2 or 3 videos. This thing is heavily chambered, but an engineered chamber. It has tone bars down the middle, and then it's chambered out over here, and then obviously it's chambered out right here by that right there. So that automatically creates a chamber to some degree, and then it's chambered right here, and this is open all the way up in here. So anyway, sounds great. And now I'm going off the rails, just talking about stuff that's just general boring conversation. So I think with that said, let me grab the scale and let's weigh it. And yeah, because I actually had it under the table. Might even still be plugged in. Yeah, this shouldn't take a second. Because she's not light at all. The reason I'm just going off the rails talking about this stuff is if you're considering building a Korina Les Paul replica, you might end up with a very heavy guitar, especially if it's heavily figured. See, when you're working with wood that is very figured, it tends to get really heavy. Yeah, 7.116 pounds. 3,228 grams. So 7.120 pounds. I bumped it, I think. Yeah, 7.116 pounds. So over 7 pounds. And typically in that state right there, if I've got a chambered mahogany guitar, it's under 7 pounds. So, and they usually end up weighing ending up being about 9 pounds after it's all said and done. So I imagine this guitar is going to be just barely over 9 pounds if I play my cards right. Check the time. All right, 25 minutes, and I hope I'm going to watch this video, and if I deem it unworthy of being uploaded, then obviously you'll never see it. But hopefully there was some good information in there, and I didn't ramble too much. But it's been a long day, and I probably shouldn't have done a video. But the primary reason I did do this video is because this guitar is about to get tabled. Because as I mentioned, I don't even have the fretboard yet. I don't have the mother of pearl inlay, and I've got these other two Explorer replica projects that I got to get the video series started for that. But I wanted to get this little bit of work done here so that I could feel comfortable tabling this guitar, and also not coming back 2 weeks from now going and having to discover things like that right there where I had to narrow up that heel. So I feel good now knowing that I got a nice little guitar that's real close to complete, and I fulfilled the video series, because whatever you might want to see from here on out, you can see it in the early videos where I installed that neck or built that neck fretboard and stuff like that. So otherwise, I appreciate you guys dropping in, and I'll see you in the next video.